Hey, good morning, everybody. I just wanted to share a quick video of my Cricut that I just got. I haven't even had this for a week, and I'm already experiencing like a lot of the pros and cons that I'm seeing people talk about online. One of the amazing things that I really like about this machine, not only aesthetically, it being aesthetically pleasing and quieter than a lot of the other cutting machines, is the crazy detail that you can get with this. I have a little tiny nail stencil that I created, and I have it next to a penny so you can see size reference. The detail on this is crazy. Even my phone can't catch it. Wait, I think there you go. It's near perfect how crazy detailed you can get with this stuff. And there are almost an endless amount of projects and materials that you can work with. It doesn't just cut paper, it cuts fabric, it cuts vinyl. I think you can even get like certain types of wood, I heard. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, but yeah, my inspiration for creating this video, this kind of, I guess, a review, if you will, is because I just had an issue, and this isn't the first issue. I've had a couple issues, and I just feel like every time I have an issue that shouldn't be an issue or shouldn't be a huge deal, I'm having to do research just to find the answer. And this time I had to look up a YouTube video of some guy telling us how to essentially cheat the system in order to get the machine to do what we want. So we have to like trick our software or trick our machine in order to get it to do what we want. And I just think, as much as I appreciate the video, I just feel like we shouldn't have to need a video like that. We shouldn't have to need videos like that when it comes to this cutting machine. It should basically just be able to be done without having to trick it into doing what we want it to do. And I'll try to explain really quickly. Basically, let's say if I wanted to cut something, if I had specific measurements for something and I wanted to cut it like right in this square right here, and I have it like measured exactly like 1 inch by 1 inch square, it would automatically like move or redirect and print and cut from the top left. Now I'm just going to do like, let's say the bottom right for now. It would print and cut right here as opposed to right here where I want it. It doesn't really sound like that big of a deal, but let's say I have this in like this, for example. I wanted to cut these decals, and then I wanted to cut a border around it, but I wanted the border to be cut at a different depth because I just wanted to cut the vinyls for the hearts, but then the whole thing I wanted to cut off of the backing as well. So it would need a different cutting pressure, which means I would have to do 2 different cuts. And the only way that I could find to be able to do that the way I wanted is to create 2 separate cutting files. And with that, it makes you take out your cutting file and put it in as if you're cutting a different like a different piece, even though I'm just trying to cut the same piece, just at a different pressure. It basically didn't, I guess, align properly, so it ended up just not cutting the way I wanted it to, and it wasn't aligned properly, which is why I wanted it to be aligned. Like, let's say I just wanted this box or this size here, it would automatically reset to right here, and that I just didn't like that. It didn't work for me, and I wanted to be able to do something else. Anyway, this video is going to be so long. Oh, it's going to be at least 10, 15, 20 minutes long because I have like a mini pros and cons list, and I haven't even had this machine for a week. So bear with me. Yeah, so another one of the cons, which I think that first one is bad enough. It's bad enough that we have to have to trick our machine into cutting it the way we want it to. But on top of that, you can't even use it without having an internet connection. Now, I read that, but I also read that it's Bluetooth, like it's wireless compatible, and so that's why I wanted it. I wanted to be able to cut without having my machine right next to my computer, because I wasn't sure how long the connection cord was going to be, but it's long enough, so it's fine. But for a lot of people, it might not be. And I noticed the cutting speeds when you're connecting online via Bluetooth and wireless, it's a lot slower. And I've been reading that it's because it's not just your internet connection, it's also the website. Because if a ton of people are trying to print and cut at the same time as you, it's going to slow everybody down. So that, I think, is ridiculous. I think there should definitely be an offline version, especially considering how much we're paying for this, how much people have paid for the machine. And then on top of that, another con is the memberships. Now, they have memberships where, you're paying these fees just to use the online software. Okay, let me rephrase that. The software is free, but a lot of things that are included with it cost money, where you can pay like a lump sum and buy it, or you can go the membership route and essentially you're kind of like renting the stuff. But I think all of it is still renting, since you can't save anything. This is another con. You cannot save anything out of the software. So if you, like I said, if you wanted to print offline, or if you went in and created something and you want in the software and you wanted to take it out of the software, as far as I know, there isn't a way to do that without, again, tricking the software into letting you do something like that, which I don't think you should have to do. I don't want to do that, and I'm not going to. But there are people that are doing that because they're making their own designs, which, again, like, I think the software is just very backwards. The product itself, the machine, is amazing, but the software that it comes with is so, it's more difficult than it needs to be to work with. And I've used programs like Photoshop, I've used programs like Illustrator, so I've used image editing and graphic editing softwares, so I'm not completely inept. I can figure things out, and if I can't figure it out on my own, I can look it up. But when an experienced person in graphic design and photo editing has to constantly look things up on how to figure out how to use your software, I feel like it's a little backwards. It's not as user-friendly as they make it seem. So also, there's a smaller cutting size than is perceived, than is expected. This mat, I think, is probably about 13 inches. Actually, let me put on another light, just in case you can't really see too well. Here we go. All right. This cutting mat is about 13 inches long, but you can see a 12-inch. Okay, so about an inch is cut off and unusable, which is understandable. You're expecting a 12 by 12, but when you're actually printing or cutting, this, I think maybe like the first quarter or the first half of an inch you can't use, and the same for the end. So you're not getting a 12 by 12 space that you can work with. You're actually getting 11 by 11 or 11.5 by 11.5, and it doesn't really seem like that big of a deal, except for people who are expecting to be able to use the full 12 by 12 space. and you can't. Or if someone is doing banners, they have 12, I think 12 by 24 or 12 by 36 mats, so you can do longer projects, but you still don't get that 12 inch width that you're expecting. It's about 11 to 11.5 inches, which may not seem like a big deal, but again, for some people, it is. It's just deceptive, in my opinion. There's also, in the software, like I said, I'm used to certain image and graphic editing software, and they're not necessarily easy to use, but they're very powerful. And when you come from Photoshop or PaintShop Pro or even GIMP to Cricut, it's a huge downgrade. I'm sorry, that's just how, it's just the truth. There isn't even a line tool. So they have basic shapes that you can make, like a circle and a square and a triangle, but you can't even make lines. And it's just, you'd have to, if you wanted to make line cuts, and I haven't tested this because, like I said, I've only had this for about a week. I've wanted to kind of create my own images inside of the software, but I kind of gave up on that because it's way too difficult. I figured it would be so much easier to learn how to use Illustrator or Photoshop to make your stuff and then importing it into Cricut than it is to learn it on Cricut, and that's saying a lot. So just to make a basic line, I think you'd have to create a square, which starts as a whole image. You know, honestly, I kind of wish I was on my computer to be able to just show you, but like my computer's a mess right now. Let me see if I can get the program up and just kind of show an example. Okay. So this here, it's very bright, I apologize. This here is my nail decal stencils that I'm trying to make. Let's say I wanted to make a line inside the actual stencil. In the shapes, there are only square, circle, triangle, and other shapes. The line, which you would think this is the line tool, when you click on it, it just automatically brings this here. But this is not a cutting line. This is a scoring line. So it's just going to help you make a fold, which is not what I'm looking for. I want a line to be cut. And it's not simple because there is no line tool. So you would have to do something like take a square, which automatically starts out at like over 3 inches wide. You would have to unlock it so that you can shrink it to whatever size you want, and then you'd have to make it into like a specific line size. But with the software, if you have something really small, like let's say I made this very thin, sometimes it's hard to click on. So like it's making me create a selection as opposed to being able to click on. See? So once you get it, it's hard to move. You'd have to zoom in. And this leads to another problem where zooming in is only right here. So if I use my scroll wheel, I can't zoom in because it's just scrolling. If I hit Alt plus or whatever short codes you have, you can't use that either. You have to use this little zoom thing. And what that does is it zooms in, most people say it zooms in like on the top corner. So if you're wanting to work down here, you'd actually have to zoom in and then move down here. But I noticed that it zooms into whatever object you have active. So if I wanted to zoom out of this area, I would have to just click on this and then I could zoom out and it will kind of focus on that. Or if I wanted to zoom out here and I zoom out, it'll focus on that. Like if I, oops, okay, maybe I'm lying. If I have, let's see if I have this active. Okay, I lied. So never mind, it just automatically zooms in at the top right, or top left, excuse me. It zooms in and out automatically at the top left. So if you were wanting to zoom into here, which I thought I could do, but that doesn't work, it would just zoom in at the top right, and then I would have to physically move this down here to be able to work here. And anytime you try to see, it automatically starts resetting. So it's a very backwards thing. Not good. And this is just some of the cons. There are so many. I'm already 15 minutes in and I haven't finished just what I've noticed in a couple days. Okay? There's destructive editing. So we just talked about the poor zooming capability. There's destructive editing. So let's say I was, you know, making my lines, which the only way I can think of doing it is by creating a square, unlocking it, and then making a line. But let's do a thick line since thin lines are kind of out of the question. So let's say I want this to be like a cross or something, right? So we'd move this here like this, and then maybe we would duplicate it and then rotate, which again, it's not precise at all. Oops, now I already stretched it. It's not precise, right? So if I had done this and I'm like, you know, making crosses and different designs for each one, and I've done this, and I'm like on the last two, and then I realize I made a mistake over here, I can't just, especially if I weld things together, I can't just come back over here and edit. Not as easily. I would have to undo everything. So if I made a mistake back here, and I didn't realize till I was here, I would have to undo everything to get back here. So once I fix this and I want to come back here, psych, I have to edit this, I have to redo this, and all of this. So that is destructive editing. And that is how the Cricut software works. There are canceled cuts. So if I bring you back over here, once you, let's see, once you have your machine and you start printing what you're trying to print, a lot of times, well, not a lot of times because it hasn't personally happened to me, but I've heard it happening to other people. I think it might have actually happened once to me, where it cancels your cuts, and it's not the easiest process of starting over. I mean, you can't. It's like how it has a pause button. So if you're cutting, you can manually pause yourself, but if it stops on you without you pausing and you want it to resume, I believe it'll start over from the beginning. So it'll continue cutting again into what you've already cut, a lot of times ruining your fabric or your vinyl or your paper or whatever it is that you're working in. It just messes up your material, and it could potentially be a waste. So that is another one. What else? Oh my goodness. I'm trying to think of everything that I've noticed in just a couple days. I think I said the smaller cutting size already. The replacement parts, they're not super expensive, but it adds up. So they have different mats and they're different colors, and they're based on how sticky the backing is, or how long, like the size of it, and it adds up. So not only do you have to replace your boards, you have to replace your drawing tools, your cutting blade. There's a lot of things that need to be replaced, which is understandable, because obviously a blade is not going to stay strong forever, but I'm hearing complaints where they don't stay sharp as long as you'd expect them to, and they're pretty costly to replace. What else? I mean, that's a lot for me. I was expecting costly replacement parts, but I can't even find them easily through Amazon. I see a couple things like scalpels and stuff, but I haven't actually been able to find blades. I don't need one yet, so it's not that big of a deal. I'm sure I can just get it directly from the website. So I will be doing that, planning on getting some new blades soon. Oh, another thing, if you do have problems with your machine that are like factory problems or problems that you would need to get a refund for or a replacement for, not like you're buying your own replacement pieces like blades and stuff, but let's say part of the machine actually breaks apart, you need to get that replaced. The process in order to contact the team behind Cricut is a bit difficult and lengthy, which again I understand because a lot of people have this machine all over the country and in other countries as well. On top of that, the process in order for you to prove that something is wrong, I think is really weird, because they make you take a video of your problem. Again, I understand that, but a lot of these people are posting their videos on YouTube, so it makes me think they're not even letting you, they don't even have a system where you can upload the videos that they're making you record into their ticketing system or into their own website. They're making you take your time to record the problem, record your serial number on the back of your machine, and then put it online for everybody to see. And the only reason I know that is because, like I said, anytime I have a question, I feel like I have to Google it, I have to YouTube it, and I'm finding other people posting their like customer information for the Cricut team to be able to help them with their problems. Like their customer support ticket is a video on YouTube, and I think that's really weird. Maybe people are allowed to make them private, but I've been noticing a lot of public ones, and I thought that was really weird. So here's to hoping that I never have a problem where I have to put my personal information out there. Yeah, like I said, the machine itself works amazing, but the software is just kind of awful. I hate to say it, but it's so basic. And I think that's maybe from like a marketing standpoint. I don't know the right word I'm trying to think of, but basically it's how they make money, right? So I understand the membership. I understand paying for specific shapes and pre-made projects. I mean, the project list is expansive. They have tons of projects that you can just start to do, but a lot of them, most of them are not free. So you either have to have a membership or you have to buy the project, but you cannot save it outside. And I'm not even just the projects. You can't save your own thing. If you went in and let's say I took these little hearts, right? I took a heart tool and then I modified my heart. I put my own signature in there using my own font or my own handwriting, and I made my own image out of it. I cannot save that and use it later. I can only use it with and through the Cricut machine. And that is only online if the website is working, and depending on the piece that you're using, if you've paid for it or if you're a member with their membership. So for all the money that you're spending, like the machine, a lot of people are spending like over $200 for the machine, and then more money for all the replacement parts, and then more money for the membership, and then more money for buying like specific shapes or specific projects, all of that. And then to have the crummiest software, hello, that's very backwards. I understand, like, if you were able to just make your own I feel like it's done on purpose, because I feel like, in their opinion, and this is just my opinion, but I feel like the reason why it's so difficult for us to, like, make our own shapes or make lines and do our own custom stuff in Cricut, the reason it's so difficult is because if you could just make your own shapes and things in the Cricut software, why would you buy their pre-made shapes? You see what I'm saying? So if I have to spend 99 cents to create lines, like, to create a line, I think that's dumb. It's a line, you know, but that's how they're making their money. They're making their money through the replacement parts. They're making their money through the membership, and they're making money from making you buy their projects. And it's not easy to create your own. So, yeah, and it's destructive. It's destructive editing. So for any real artist who's trying to make the most, to, you know, make their own stickers or their own labels or their own t-shirt designs, with what it has that it lets you do, it does it very, very freaking well. But with the limitations, it makes some of the most basic things very difficult to do. And so for, like, a seasoned professional, for an actual graphic artist, or an actual photo editor or whatever, I feel like this would be very, I feel like certain things would take way more time than it would in any other program, or than it should take, because you're having to find other ways around all of the limitations to be able to do things that you want to do. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I've missed some things, but I'm reaching like a half an hour of just sitting here pointing at a machine and talking. So I'm just gonna go ahead and end this. I am very happy with what I am able to do with this machine. I will let that be known. I'm very, very, very happy with what I'm able to do. But, you know, there's a lot of things that need work. Another thing is this. Okay. I did like a slightly larger project than this. Was this. This is like, I don't know, 5 inches max. Okay. This took me half an hour. Half an hour to cut. Now, if I show you, you will actually be able to see that it does have a lot of tiny cuts. It took longer. It took longer when I'm trying to zoom in so you could see the detail. It's like a brick pattern because I just wanted to test it out. I wanted to see how small it could cut and how much precision it would have. And it was able to do very well. It's just, it took forever. And I know it's probably actually really difficult to see with my shaky hands and poor lighting. So let me try to fix that. Now I have a brick pattern in here. There's probably about, I don't know, 15 or 20 bricks on each stencil. So multiply that by 15, and it took a half an hour to make a 5 by 4 inch sheet of paper with cuts on it, which is another thing that sucks. But anyway, like I said, I don't, 30 minutes long. I gotta go. But yeah, I'll see you guys later.